the future of real estate media. I'm joined today with my friend Cullen, and I'm very excited to be talking about what we've seen work in the past, what we think the industry is moving towards. So let's open the discussion. What, in your opinion, has worked in the past that you think is going to change in the future?
Man, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is that we could get by with kind of a run-of-the-mill video before. Um, just a very slow showcase of the property and something that kind of hit all the basics. But I think what we're seeing now is something more engaging that people want to watch and that people want to watch the whole way through. I think that's something we're going to see, coming up in the next few months is that, what draws in more people and what engages a broader spectrum is more engaging videos with better music, you know, so.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen bad videos
Yeah.
online, and it's kind of a process for realtors that they need to work through at their own pace, going from a video that they filmed on their iPhone, which if your budget only allows that, that's great. At least you're doing video. But I totally agree that agents that I see doing high volume work and getting a lot of constant referrals and clients are investing in video. And the video, in my opinion, went from being a great marketing tool for the property to being a great marketing tool for the agent to get their next property.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's like the best opportunity to show people who you are without meeting you. You can really tell people who you are through a camera screen now, or through a phone screen now, right? So, whereas you used to have to go and cold call or go to open houses or meet people through networking in person, you have this amazing platform where you can draw in so many people just through online presence, right? I think the average person spends like 2 hours a day or something crazy on social media,
Yeah.
right? And so you're going to show up in people's feeds, and especially in the hyper local sense, like you're going to see, people around you that are also creating videos. I think that's just a crazy platform to where you can really take advantage and move forward in this market.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, number one, video. It's evolving daily, if not, let me go back. It's evolving monthly, if not daily. Like,
Yeah.
literally, these trends are changing. One of the things I know that we wanted to touch on is chasing trends in video can be a problem. And especially if that trend is not portraying you in the professional way that you want to be perceived in the market of real estate.
Yeah.
Something that I've seen that I think is short-term fame is like these videos where the agent is really unprofessional and potentially doing things that are very damaging to their personal brand.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I think short-term fame is very easily attainable now in this kind of viral age. It's so easy to just come up with an idea that's going to get clicks and get views, but to come up with ideas that get clicks and views and translate into working with clients that you want to work with is a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, let's elaborate on that.
Yeah,
What are some of
so-
the ways that you've seen be successful? Because that is one of the hardest points of creating content and creating videos is coming up with ideas that are effective. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always good to have a fun idea that's different. I'd say difference is the key there. You want to stand out from the crowd and not just copy effects and things you've seen work previously for other realtors, but create something that's unique to their brand. I think a good way to do that is when you're coming up with a script, and keep in mind we are coming up with scripts and we're working with realtors. You want to come up with something that tailors their brand, right? You want to come up with something that fits their niche and their clientele. So something I found that's super helpful and I think does a great job of, doing this is whenever I show up to a shoot, the first thing we do isn't grab a camera. We sit down at the island or the kitchen or on the floor, wherever we can, and we write a script together. I'm like, hey, if the house next door was selling for 10 grand cheaper, what makes this one special? And that's when realtors really start to open up. They start to say things like, oh, this house has this, this, and this, and you can't get this anywhere else. And that's the stuff that everyone wants to hear and needs to hear in a video. And that's something that's going to sell the house and make you look amazing as an agent, right?
Absolutely. And the coolest part and the feedback that I love to hear is when the agent shows the video to the homeowner and they are one, I hear this a lot, they got emotional.
Yeah.
And it's like this is a big deal for them. And if you can portray a property through video and your brand, you're going to get more referrals. You're going to get more customers. It is an investment in yourself as the agent. But working with someone like yourself or myself that takes up to an hour to build a script so that the video is very effective in doing two things: marketing yourself professionally and marketing this property.
Mm-hmm.
It's immensely valuable. And I think there are a lot of companies that are cutting corners.
Yeah.
And I know I've worked for companies who previously would not write any scripts, and it was on the agent to have the script ready. And if they weren't ready, we would cancel the shoot.
No, they're never ready. I mean, like, agents are busy, right? They have a life outside of work as well. They're dealing with phone calls, clients, appraisals, everything else. They don't have the time to be thinking of what do I want to say and doing the research that we're supposed to be doing about what performs well, right? That's not entirely their job. I think it's something we work with them on to make sure that we are, we're kind of the experts in that social media space of like, hey, we want to create a video that performs well for you, right? How do we do that? We do that through creating an engaging script, and you can't just write a script for a realtor on your own time because then you don't know anything about them. You need to write it with them so that it incorporates who they are as well.
Yeah, it's fun too. The more I work with agents who are getting on camera, the more I'm understanding their personality. So that process is moving a lot quicker. And it's just fun, dude. I love seeing the feedback that they're getting from their competition, being their coworkers, like other agents. Couldn't agree more. Video is changing, and you got to get on camera and you got to get on social media. It is
100%
terrifying for everyone who's doing it for the first time, myself included. But it has brought so much value into my life with new leads. I've met new people that I would have never had opportunities to work with before, yourself included.
Yeah.
That you have to just make that first step as an agent to do an agent on camera video with a company who's going to help you do all of the things that we just talked about, because there are companies who will set you up to fail, unfortunately, just to make a quick buck. So one, video, couldn't agree more. Two, I wanted to talk about a little bit about photos. So like in the past, literally like up until recently, you could get away with taking photos as an agent on your iPhone and selling a house in this market, which we're in the Denver, Colorado market. You can't do that anymore. No. Houses aren't selling themselves the way that they have in the past, and you as the agent are the expert and need to be setting yourself up for success for your next customer. The house you're shooting today, in my opinion, is your resume for your future business. So if you are not taking professional photos at a bare minimum, you are not doing your future self justice.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, the bar has been raised, right? Like, most real estate photographers now are at a level where, all the housing in your current area are well shot, right? Mm-hmm. It's rare that you go on Zillow or any platform and you see a home that isn't professionally shot, and when you do, it's the last one you click on, right? So it's a standard now to where you have to hit this certain level of quality to even be considered an option, right? Mm-hmm. That being said, that's kind of why I said video was the thing that's probably going to be the most influential, is because the bar has gotten higher, but that also just shrunk the margin, right? So there's such a smaller gap between, passable photos and amazing photos now, because most photos are amazing at this point. So it's so much harder to stand out with photos alone. But that being said, you need to meet that minimum bar. You need to have someone that can provide photos that are, gonna at least be on par with everyone else.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I think too, like what I've seen change too is there are a lot of these like fast photographers who can get in and out of a house in 30 minutes. But I think there are details, and like we talk about this a lot, picking each other's photos apart, that sometimes when I'm shooting a kitchen, it'll take me 5 different shots to get that angle, in my opinion, and composition perfect.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes 5 to 10 minutes per section of the home that I know my competition isn't doing, and that does help set my agents apart because it's so subtle that I think the average consumer wouldn't ever know that took place, but subliminally when they're looking at those photos,
you feel it.
You feel it. And it's like your photographer needs to take pride in what they're doing, and that is something that I'm starting to see more now is agents who understand that are willing to invest in it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's one of the best few $100s you could possibly spend is get with someone who's willing to take that extra time. And then two, it's like your post photography experience. Like, what is your photographer like on site? How are they interacting with your homeowner? Because they are an extension of you and your business.
Yeah.
And I have personally seen photographers embarrass and say like things about the property in front of the homeowner in a way that is just like, you just need to be careful who you let into your house and who you're hiring as your photographer, who's coming in as an extension of you as the agent. That is evolving. In today's landscape, there's just a lot of people cutting corners, and I would encourage you to have a meeting with your photographer before they come into your property. And I know that's something that you value as well.
Definitely. I mean, I always walk the property with every single homeowner or agent that I work with. This really allows you to do a few things. I mean, it gets you in a conversation with the homeowner. You can start a conversation about what they're doing in their life, or how it's going, or if they'd rather not talk about that. Then you get to see the house from their perspective and what matters to them, which also allows you to tailor the photos and what you're prioritizing to their taste, right? Which is ultimately what's most important in some aspects. I think you touched on something really good, which is that you are an extension of the agency you're working for to their homeowners, right? So we want to present ourselves, like it's our job to represent that agent's brand in that small amount of time that we're spending with homeowners. And I think that being professional in that way goes miles. The best feedback I can get from an agent is, hey, my homeowner loved working with you, right? I mean, that's gold to me. That's everything is the homeowner's opinion, right? Because that affects the agent more than anything. So, I mean, the photos can be amazing, they can be horrible, whatever it is, but my goal at the end of the day is to give the homeowner and the agent an experience that they enjoyed.
So, couldn't agree more.
And I mean, that comes through a few things. It's taking that extra time to get the perfect photo, or just cleaning up little things here and there. They notice those things, right? Instead of just blazing through, trying to be in and out and get paid, because we're not paid hourly. We want to be, efficient with the work we're doing. But taking the extra time to do those small and easy steps goes miles. So
I couldn't agree more. And it's part of that, as a boutique photographer I allow myself additional time so that I can do that for my clients. Because there are times when, yes, the floor needs to be swept. Yeah. And if I have access to the ability to do it, I will do it.
Yeah.
And because it matters. And it's like, yes, you have to draw a line as a photographer to what extent you have the time to be able to do those things. But, a lot of times it goes unnoticed too. It's like I did a shoot this last week where I spent 20 minutes, no joke, just cleaning off counters. There was a huge house. There were a lot of bathrooms. They had a family. I get it. They're busy.
Yeah.
I totally get it. It is a lot of work getting ready for a photographer. And it took me 20 minutes. I cleaned it. It looked fantastic. The photos came out beautifully. The homeowner was super pumped. It's simple, but a lot of people aren't doing that. So just do your due diligence if you're an agent looking for a new photographer.
I saw a guy that on social media recently that carries a leaf blower in his car. And I thought that was the funniest thing. And so he rolls up to the shoot, and the first thing he always does is, it's fall, so there's leaves on the ground in the front yard and everything. But he took the leaf blower and just took 5 minutes and just blew off all the leaves from the front yard, and
That's awesome.
Made a big difference. But I mean, it's just like that little extra mile you can go.
Yeah,
Like,
you bet. One of the things
yeah.
I started doing is carrying a shovel
Oh, really?
in the winter because the front stoop.
Smart.
It's funny how many times I've had to use that,
Mm.
and every time the agent's like, "Amazing! I can't believe we
Yeah.
have a shovel. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this." But yeah, little things, man. So photos. If you're not doing professional photos, you absolutely need to be. You're not doing yourself your personal brand service. You're not doing your customers service.
Yeah.
And work with someone who's going to be pushing that level and truly is passionate about doing this full time. There's a lot of companies that are hiring people and paying them next to nothing, and you're going to see that in the result. So, yeah.
I think that's where that rushed mentality comes from, is when you have a photographer that just wants to do the job and go home. They're not getting quite valued for their work. That encourages them to not push themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start building relationships, you realize that the work you're doing is part of your brand as well. So I think, having a photographer that's paid fairly and cares about building relationships with their clients is something you absolutely need.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Love it.
Yeah.
So we talked video, we talked photos. One of the other things that I'm seeing that I want to talk briefly about is how AI is impacting real estate, photography, videography, media. We're seeing a lot of companies come out that are really helpful. And I also think there are a few companies that are coming out that may, in the short term, look like they're successful, but may actually be hindering your business.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is fantastic is the technology that has come out that has allowed floor plans to be turned around in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And agents, if you're not booking a floor plan, it's one of the best tools for a prospective buyer to fully understand how this home is laid out. Photos do a good job of that if they're done correctly, but a floor plan, there's no questions.
Yeah.
I recommend it for every listing. One of the tools, though, that I think is trending are these virtual 3D tour renders.
I haven't seen these.
Yeah, so basically you scan it with your phone. It's using the images and then LiDAR to map out the space, and then it's creating a digital video of the property. And I have done them, tested them out. I think that they're very cool. And for the price point that they are, I think they're very attractive. But the big issue that I see with them is they are not representing the property in a way that I believe the MLS requires. And I wanted to bring it up because I think it is a watch out moment for agents who are using these for their properties. Is these renderings, I personally think they have a disclaimer stating that this does not represent the property. Like there's some legal jargon in there that the AI company has put in to protect themselves. But you as the agent, like there's a reason why I think these are detrimental is like if you have an out-of-state buyer who's just watching that type of rendering, the floors sometimes change color. Like there are things in those videos that do not represent the property correctly.
Wow.
And I do not offer it as a service solely because I do not want to put one of my agents in the position where they're having to deal with a lawsuit because they use one of these videos.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be careful. Like, that I use AI quite a bit as a tool, but where there's a line, right? Like, there's a line where you're, using it as a tool versus where you're maybe making some liberties creatively, and it's a tough one, man. I try to stay as accurate as possible to how the property actually looks, which is, a tough thing as a photographer, videographer in the real estate space sometimes, because you want to make it look as best as you possibly can. You want to make it look big, you want to make it look spacious and light and everything, but you don't want to take that step over what's naturally possible, right? So I don't run any of my photos through AI, that's for sure. Any videos I run through AI are just for quality purposes alone. This doesn't change anything about, the house or dimensions itself. That's personally where I draw the line, but it's interesting that you brought that up because I was gonna say, oh, that's just like Zillow or Matterport, but I think the difference is that it's not actually capturing the space. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
a 3D tour, in my opinion, one of the best investments an agent can make. So the 3D tour, like a Matterport tour, is capturing a 360 photo, and it's rendering that live photo. So it's actually what was taking place in the property. This new technology is a digital, so someone's physically digitally creating the floors, the table, the walls, and then they're rendering it in a way that, like, when you scan it, you're walking the perimeter of every room, but when the video plays, it's flowing through the center of the property.
So essentially, like it's like you take a video of a property and someone's like, okay, now I'm gonna draw that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like it could be totally inaccurate.
Correct.
I see why that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's questionable, but they're like really pushing this heavily.
wow.
And, it's like, so for example, you can get that product for, I
Pretty
think it's
cheap,
like
I'm assuming.
$150.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like my property videos are more expensive than that, but you're getting a pure and accurate video of the property.
It's from the real world. You know, so when you watch these AI videos, can you absolutely tell, like, oh, this was AI?
I can, yeah,
You
absolutely.
can. You think the normal person could tell?
I think that there's that's where I'm worried for people who are using them. Is like, I know at some point there's going to be litigation because these videos are not perfectly representing the property.
Yeah,
But
I don't think AI is in a place yet where we can trust it fully like that. You know, especially in a professional sense. Yeah, I would say that's a dangerous tool to have out there.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the next one is Imagine AI. So they're an AI photo editing platform. Have you played around with it yet?
I've touched on a few photo editing platforms that rely on AI, not for real estate.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about them. I don't know if I trust someone without a creative eye to look at all those extra details and fix things that need to be fixed. I would like it to be a human just because I know that humans can see things that are out of the ordinary and make them a little bit more ordinary. So like, let's say we leave something on the countertop that wasn't supposed to be there. That I would strongly suggest having removed in post-processing. I don't think an AI would have the mental fortitude to be like, oh, that's not supposed to be there, I'm gonna take it out.
Yeah.
You know, because in that case, it might take everything out, even if it was supposed to be there. So having that human in that chair that can do all the detail work that needs to be done to a photo without going a little too overboard, I think is crucial to my process. So I wouldn't trust one personally.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's not there yet. So
Yeah.
I did probably 10 side-by-side examples where I submitted my photos, whether I edited them or I had my team member edit them, and compared them. And I think that if I'm like a real estate photographer who's just starting out and I'm going to try to baseline my editing skills, I think it's a great tool because it costs 5 cents per photo and can give you a result that is okay. I personally think it has so far to come before it's ever going to compete with professionals like ourselves.
Yeah.
Because of everything you just said. It does an okay job blending photos. It does not do a good job editing the photos.
Yeah.
But I am excited to see where it comes and goes in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, when I look through my editing workflow, there's 10 steps that I do for every photo. And that doesn't ever change. If it can get to a point where it can do those 10 steps, I'm not going to be opposed to implementing it. But right now it's doing like 2 of the 10. Yeah. And it is not where it needs to be.
You know, I think as long as you're definitely reviewing every photo and not missing anything, I mean, it's fine. I personally probably would steer away from it. It also helps you support your local editors and everything as well. When you ran photos through it, what were like the biggest holdups you noticed with it?
Yeah. So the biggest issues that it has right now is it's when it's blending exposures or you're doing flambient work, it just isn't quite right. Mm-hmm. It's like the highlights will be too hot, or your black point isn't set correctly. It's just not quite making the same decisions that an editor would.
Yeah.
But it's way, like when I first started editing, it's way better than when I first started.
Really?
And that's why I think it has its place in the process for people who are just starting out. But I wouldn't ever use it in my professional workflow. Let me be clear on that.
Yeah.
But it is like a good gut check if you're trying to learn editing and you don't know where to start. Because what's cool about it is it collaborates with Lightroom and it pulls in the adjustments so you can see what that program did to your photos. So if you're learning editing, I think Imagine AI has a good place in your workflow because you can see what they did in Lightroom to get the result that you're seeing on paper. But again, there's so many more steps that I would implement that it doesn't make sense to have in your workflow professionally. But
yeah. What was the name of the software?
it's Imagine AI.
Imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a company out of Israel, I believe. They do, I think the better workflow for it is wedding photography or lifestyle photos because it seems to do a really good job with those. And they have probably 20, maybe 20 is not the right number, but 5 to 10 different profile, like, it's like filters, but they're not filters, but it's like a template style that you can choose. And then you can have your photos edited in all those different styles. For weddings and stuff, I think it's nuts. Yeah. It's really good.
Does it do anything? It doesn't generate at all, does it? It just changes values?
Yeah. It's literally just taking it, implementing it into its program. It's, in my opinion, it's like a advanced Lightroom preset.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I kind of thought it was doing more generative stuff because, with AI, you can start to see artifacts and everything. So I don't know if you were seeing any artifacts or weird blending stuff, but that's kind of where I would caution because you might miss some things once you're reviewing photos. But I mean, if it improves, maybe, but I'm not going to, welcome it with open arms or anything. So
I agree. Well, and the big part too is like we touch on this, like you have to be accurate. Your stuff has to be accurate. Your
and
photos,
consistent.
colors need to be perfect. And you don't want to get your agent in trouble because you used an AI bot to edit your photos.
Yeah, and the MLS might have some words to say about that in the future as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that there's going to be a bigger demand for professional creatives. Yeah. Because AI is going to be a problem, and you can't represent your properties with AI tools currently.
What do you think about like generative fill or removing things from photos? Like, where do you draw the line to where that's unfaithful to the property?
Yeah, great question. So there's excuse me, there's a document from the MLS that outlines this in what you as a photographer can and cannot do. Anything fixed to the property, you cannot.
Really?
But anything that is owner, I'm getting this terminology wrong, so just look it up yourself if you have that question. But basically, anything that's fixed to the property, you cannot change. If you do change something like a wall color, you have to explicitly state that change and have both photos available to the consumer.
Wow.
So like I do that work quite frequently. It'll be like the homeowner's going to paint this wall white, but when I get there, it's blue. Yeah. I have to take it as blue. And then when they, or whatever they have done to that, I can then edit it, make the change, but the agent should be posting both options.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of agents not doing that.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I do. And it's one of those things where you can push your boundaries or your limits depending on how comfortable you are as an agent.
Yeah.
But if you're going by the book, like you in theory shouldn't be changing anything about the property that is fixed or is being sold with the property. It's my understanding. So like furniture you can get rid of. Anything that isn't fixed you can get rid of. So like things on counters.
So just nothing attached to
nothing
the bones,
attached,
right?
Right.
So, yeah. How about like outdoor stuff? Like I see one of the most common ones I see is like replace the dead grass with green grass. What are your opinions on that?
I do it all the time, and it's one of my probably, in my opinion, one of the best $10 investments you can make as an agent is doing grass replacement. But same thing, I always recommend that you post back to back with the grass replacement. With the grass replacement as your cover photo, and then the next photo that they get to see is that same photo but with the real grass.
Yeah, or snow. I mean, then you get to see it 2 times a year.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Have you used them?
Done it occasionally. I don't see it a ton. I feel like I don't have a lot of agents that request that, to be honest with you. So maybe it's an issue of them just not being aware that that's an
They
option.
probably don't know that it's an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's one of the first things that I'll mention if I do a property that is, if we're getting into the 700s to multiple $1 million range, we just need a clean photo that has nice grass, in my opinion, because it's going to be your cover image on the MLS. It's going to be the first photo people have the opportunity to click on Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, you name it.
mm-hmm.
But you have to have that backup that shows what it's really like, in my opinion. Otherwise, you are potentially making.
I think better safe than sorry with all that stuff.
Yeah. But they look really nice.
They do look really nice. Yeah.
I think they're really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It has a dramatic impact. There's one that I'll show you after this. We did a backyard. Let me just pull it up right now.
Yeah.
So
great.
This backyard had they hadn't planted any grass, right? So it's like dirt. And the change between with the grass replacement, and then we also removed some objects because there was like some stuff in the backyard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a wheelbarrow, and it's dramatic. So let me just pull it up.
It's crazy how far editing has come too, man. Like how believable and passable this stuff is now.
Yeah. So check this out. So here's, granted, so the before that I'm showing you already has the object removal. So before, if I had the other photo, there was like a bunch of stuff in here. So this is the before, that's the after.
I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah.
You're getting so much more color and life out of that.
It looks way better.
It looks way better.
Yeah. And as what you're trying to portray with this type of thing is what the new home buyer could do with the property.
Yeah.
And with grass, it lives and dies. It's one of those things that I think you can portray with grass replacement and show the potential of the property.
Yeah, I think it's within the scope of realism as well. It's not something that's unattainable for the house. Like it's not, missing panels on the outside or damage or anything. It's something that happens every year regardless. So I think you're staying pretty faithful to how that property actually looks in a different time of year. So.
Yeah, totally agree. And it stands out immensely.
Yeah.
When you're looking at photos. The other thing that I like to do, if the agent is aware and has a property they know they're going to list in the spring, we take the photos in the fall. And that property stands out on the platforms so much. I'm like, if I'm browsing Zillow, I can tell immediately if they took photos in the fall, because the colors are rich. You get the greens, you get the fall foliage.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. And as someone who's potentially going to be living in that home, looking at it and understanding, wow, I can imagine what fall is going to be like in this property. And if it has these beautiful leaf trees, I recommend doing exteriors in the fall.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's, in my opinion, the best time of year to shoot. And it's such a small window here in Colorado, but it really pays off. And something I run into a lot is agents fearing that if they take photos in a different time of year, it's going to make it look like the listing was, on the market for a long time. I actually couldn't disagree more, because you can always see how long the listing has been on the market. It's just that preparation step of when it looks the best. And then you can present it at a time where no other listings can attain that look. Mm-hmm. So I think it's super valuable. And I definitely agree with you there.
So I had one property. So this agent, I've been like so grateful I got the opportunity to work with them. But they did all of their properties. They knew they were coming up in the spring last fall. They've already listed 2, I believe. Both of them were under contract opening weekend, which was nuts, considering there were multiple properties in that same neighborhood that are still on the market. Yeah. And I truly believe it's a factor of compounding things, including we took the photos in the fall. We did all of the media, including photos, video, 3D tour. Their 3D tour had over 400 walkthroughs the opening weekend.
Wow.
So it's like I think they had like 10 or 15 showings, and then you also had 400 showings that didn't do it in person.
Yeah, imagine opening up an open house and there's a line of 400 people going out that door. That's insane.
And it's like, so you get people doing the 3D tour, they see what it looks like in the fall because they had this beautiful garden in the back, and the winter photos don't do it justice.
No.
So it's like all those things involved, and the agent's awesome. They probably had a great network of potential buyers. You know, they did everything correctly, and they got that house sold. And it's like, boom, like that's a stat that I think is very valuable. Do your photos in the fall if you have the ability to do so.
Yeah. I have a funny story about that.
Yeah.
I was shooting a home, and there was a foot of snow on the ground, and they wanted exteriors as well. And so I go out to the backyard, snap my usual exteriors, right? And then I go home, upload my photos, do whatever. And then I check out the listing a week later because it was a really cool house, and I liked, you know, how it looked. I wanted to see, you know, what the agent was advertising with. I take a look at the backyard, and they had photos from summer and fall, and there was a pool in the middle of the backyard.
Oh, you didn't even know.
They did not tell me. They did not tell me there was a pool in the backyard. And so here I am walking through a foot of snow. I was probably about an inch away from falling in a frozen pool.
No way.
I had no idea, but that goes to the point that if you have a pool in your backyard, you're probably gonna want to show it in summer and fall. But
yeah, also give your photographer a heads up.
Give your photographer a heads up if there's a pool in your backyard and it's snowy. So.
Oh man, that could have been a bad day.
I was carrying all my gear too. You know, it was cold out. Yeah, it could have been a really bad day.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I haven't fallen in a pool, but I've fallen.
Really?
Oh, dude, yeah. I slipped. There was this property that had a hill in the back, and dude, I slipped and fell down that hill.
Yeah.
It was just like a bad day.
Yeah,
It's like I'm covered in mud.
Day. You know, you break a flash.
And you're just like, yeah. It's funny when that happens, but
I've broken so many flashes, man. Like the attachment doesn't sit well on Sony's for me, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been walking down a stair set with a tripod, and I just hit that little top piece of drywall there and just knocks off down the stairs. But
I gotta show you my setup. I bought. You may already have it, but they make a special attachment that does do like this really solid locking. I haven't broken one since.
Really? Mine is like 50-50. It starts to slip off, and by the end of the shoot, it's basically falling off. So started carrying backup flashes.
Yeah.
It's happened a few times. But yeah, you have to be careful with those, man. They will just fall. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
You bring up a good point too, is like the future of real estate media. You need to have insurance because sometimes when we're there or things happen that are unforeseen, and if I don't have insurance, you or your homeowner might be liable. So make sure you're checking that your photographer has insurance like we do, because it's a really important piece that sometimes gets overlooked.
That, and communicate with your agent or your homeowner, right? Like, there's something that's broken in the home, and you shouldn't put a blind down because half the ceiling's gonna come down with it. You need to know about that.
Oh my goch.
So, and it's happened a few times where I've been like, hey, is there any last minute things you want to let me know about, or things that are fragile and can be broken? Maybe I'm like, yeah, actually, don't open this door because this will happen. It's like, okay, I'm so glad I asked.
Great question.
That leaves no option for liability or any issues because the whole encounter was prevented in the first place.
Oh man, I remember one of the first shoots I ever did. I pulled, so there was like 20-foot ceilings, and they had this huge window in their living room. Yeah. And I pulled that blind cord, and the whole thing came falling off onto me.
Really? On
the stairwell. It was terrifying, and also I was fine, but I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did this. Like one of my first shoots, and thankfully the homeowner and the agent were like, oh my god, are you okay? We knew that was going to happen. We should have told you. Like, we're really apologizing. Like, it didn't damage anything, but it was like, why are we, like, what if these are the things that you need to be mindful of before you do your open houses too, because the worst case scenario is someone's touring the property and then their blind falls on them.
Yeah, and they get hurt, you know?
Well, they get hurt, but they're not going to have a good opinion of this house.
No, it'll be memorable, but not in a good way.
Yes. So that's a good point, man. It's like, ask that question, or if you are someone who's selling your property, just double check that they work. One of the things that I've noticed too with blinds specifically is if they haven't been used recently, they just like won't work. No. And I will have to photograph the property with them down, which is not ideal. but it can be done. But yeah, that conversation is really important.
Yeah, I mean, that, and there's a little trick with blinds where you can always kind of assist them up using your hands. Luckily, I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had a situation where anything's broken while I was on a shoot, so that's always been good. I have had some really rough shoots where the home was probably not in a condition that was safe for human entry. That is something you really need to figure out and work on with your photographer if you're an agent. I walked into this home, and the homeowners, I guess it was vacant for a while, and they decide to tear up all of the carpet in the home. When you tear up carpet, this leaves exposed boards with like pins and nails in them to hold the carpet. And I always have my shoes off as a courtesy to, not track dirt through the home. I go to take a step down to the stairs, and keep in mind there's barely any lights in this home because it's vacant. I just step straight on a whole row of nails.
Oh, no.
And that's just a horrible conversation to have with an agent, right? I called them up and I was like, hey, man, I just stepped on a whole row of nails in this house. And they're like, what do I even do? Just avoid the conversation, avoid that altogether. Let your photographer know if there's things in this house that they should know about. I think it's a common courtesy, and it prevents the whole, who's liable situation.
Oh, man.
Luckily, didn't get tetanus or anything. I'm all caught up on my shots. There was black mold in the house as well, so we ended up not continuing to photograph this property. But, yeah, I think it's super important.
Dude, one of the things, too, that I recommend, if I understand everybody's busy, so this is not a requirement, but if you can, as the listing agent, tour the property before you have your photographer or media company come out, it's going to help your listing.
Yeah. Because
there are always things that could benefit from another set of eyes. Yeah. And like that one, they might not even have known that was like that.
No. And I like how you have to say that, because I feel like most people assume that agents have always seen the property. And I think a lot of photographers assume that as well. And we know agents are busy, and sometimes it's not possible to make it over there before your shoot. But I think it's so important that you either see it before you have it shot or meet the photographer there, which is probably the best option. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always do a debrief session after photography or whatever media I'm working through for that reason, to extend that opportunity to tell them what I saw. And if they haven't been there, it's always a beneficial conversation. Yeah. And it's something, if you're not getting from your photographer now, maybe you could ask them, like, hey, when you're done, give me a quick debrief on what you saw. Because I've saved, there's a lot of things that, I can mention. For example, there's a property that I did months ago where it's like they had half, repainted the basement or something, but the agent wasn't aware that they had only done it halfway. And it was like, hey, I was able to photograph it in a way that didn't show it. But by the way, I would recommend following up with your homeowner and making sure this gets done, because you're trying to go live on Saturday and it's Thursday. Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Thank you so much. Those are the little things that I think we can do that add a lot of value.
I agree with you. Totally. I think that's a great point. So
yeah, cool. So that's a good one. I think that started out with AI, right?
Yeah. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah. Lay it on me.
People always ask about this, and I feel like it's such a common stereotype for real estate photographers, but they always ask, hey, do you fly the drone? And then a more common question I get asked is, do you run into a lot of problems with the drone? And
okay, yeah.
I want to see if you've had any experience with either people or homeowners being nervous about it, yes, or, neighbors that aren't approving of it. I've definitely had my fair share of situations, but
almost every time I fly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, well, it depends on where I'm at. If I am in downtown Denver or in a area anywhere near suburbia in Denver, 50% of the time someone's coming outside to talk to me. And that conversation is never started in a friendly way. It always starts out with someone yelling at me.
Really?
And because I think there have been issues in Denver specifically where people have gotten on the news for misusing their drones. So people are worried that you're one of those people misusing it. And it always ends fine. Mm-hmm. Once I'm able to tell them, hey, my name's Travis. I'm with Media Pro Photos. I almost always have my hat on. Mm-hmm. And I'm I'm a professional real estate photographer. Your neighbor hired me to photograph their house. I'm very sorry if I have bothered you. If and then I'll ask like, what do you need? And if they have a request, like, please stop flying, or don't fly over my property, always, I always either land or give them that opportunity
Yeah.
because it's their right.
Yeah,
So
I mean, legally it may be different, but
correct. The
legally doesn't
airspace,
matter at that point. It's
right?
about being courteous. And I've had it happen a few times, probably not nearly as much as you have. Ways that I try to mitigate it are I always wear a high vis vest.
Yeah,
It
smart.
says drone pilot on the back. It's
Yep.
ridiculous, but it definitely gets the job done. And then I always initiate that conversation, and it's tricky to always do that. But when I see someone kind of walking by and they're walking their dog and they're kind of nervous about, oh, there's a drone in the air, I start the conversation. I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry if this is annoying or bothering you. I'm just flying this drone for real estate. Let me know if this is something you are not okay with. And then they're like, oh no, it's totally fine. Like, I get that you're doing that. And that just kind of alleviates them making assumptions before
Yeah,
it's too
that's
late.
great.
But
That's great.
yeah, anyway, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were
Well,
on that. So.
dude, one of the things that is also troubling me with aerials is there's a lot of legislation that's changing.
All the time.
And I do think that there's going to be a point in the next year or two where it's not going to be something that we can offer.
Yeah.
And they have made it very, very restrictive. One, you have to be a licensed pilot, which is fine, right? You should be. Two, they're changing like what can be flown too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like companies like Amazon are pushing for this legislation so they can get their drone delivery systems installed, which will effectively make it impossible for anyone to fly without
Wow.
getting approval from local air traffic control. So I think that that is going to be something that's changing immensely in the next probably 2 to 5 years, maybe even sooner. And it's something too, like if you want to get insurance for drone flight, it can cost up to $50 per flight to get full coverage. And it's something I know a lot of photographers are cutting corners on and not having that insurance, which is why they're able to do it for $50, which is just insane.
Yeah.
So it's evolving, dude. I recently had to update my pricing where my base drone package is $150 now because I'm having to pay huge insurance fees just to make sure that I'm not liable for anything that happens up there.
That's smart though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essential at this point, I mean, it is getting harder and harder month by month almost. There's more regulations. The tests are difficult, right? They're not, you just take it online and you're done. No, you have to study for a while and then go into a testing center through the FAA and take an actual test. And then you finally pass and you can operate a drone for now. But with all the restrictions coming, I mean, I think we need to be leveraging these while we still can.
I agree. I'm personally, every time I fly, I take it so seriously because that is a flight, like you're flying an aircraft that could fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
And God forbid it hits someone or something. That is like a worst case scenario for any photographer. So I'm I take it very seriously, upgrading, making sure that my blades are perfectly intact, like all my equipment is updated.
Yeah.
But I'm personally not going to be upset if it's something I can't offer in the future because it is such a high liability risk to the photographer who's having to make that flight. I have one story. I was flying in rural, it was like farm country basically in eastern Colorado, and I got hit by like a bird strike. I had like a hawk or something attack my drone, and thankfully I was in the middle of nowhere where that was able to fall out of the sky and just land in some dirt.
Yeah.
But I think about that every time I fly when I'm downtown or anywhere where there's a home or something that could fall on.
Yeah. And I think when you fly a drone as a photographer, especially for real estate, you represent the rest of our community at that time, right? So if you're unkind to people asking about your drone or people that are nervous about it, this has an effect on everyone else as well. So if you're not, working out these situations where people are unhappy with you flying a drone, then over time we're going to see a progression towards where no one is happy with it and no one's allowed to fly drones. But I also think that you have to be responsible and determine when a shot may be cool, but not worth the consequences, right? Like flying close to cars or over golf courses or people. They're just trying to have fun. That creates a stigma about what we do, and it's not a positive one.
Yeah, man, I get so frustrated when I'm on YouTube watching, because I love this industry as well as you, so I'm constantly absorbing information.
Yeah.
And when I see someone doing a tutorial that's filled with illegal flights,
Yeah.
it drives me nuts, because not only are you hurting yourself potentially, because you're going to be immensely liable if that crashes, but you're hurting all the other drone pilots who are trying to do it the right way. And the FAA is cracking down immensely on everyone, because there are people who are bad apples flying into stadiums and like
It just takes one event or one accident, man.
It's super frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, you could put people's lives at risk with some of this stuff. So, I mean, I've had my hands cut up by drones. They look like toys, but man, they can really hurt somebody. So
Yeah. It's a good point too. It's like that is evolving immensely. I think that it is such an effective tool, and I think the stat that is most recent is it increases your click-through rate by 20% on your listings if you have that perspective.
Really?
And part of it is the branding element for you is you're looked at as an agent that does premium, because you are hiring someone to do something other people aren't. And you're getting a perspective of the property that is just different. And
I think they still have that wow factor too.
I agree.
Like not everyone sees things from the air like we get to every day. Not everyone sees their home from 200, 300 feet up. So I think it's still an impressive thing you can put out there.
It's a very effective tool. I think the best use case for it is it gives your viewer a total, like normally you don't get to see the roof, or you don't get to see how the garage in the backyard or the ADU unit is set up in relation from the sky. And it is a very attractive tool to be used in certain instances. I totally agree.
I mean, land, lots, and even community aspects I think are really valuable. There's a pool 100 feet away. It's so difficult to show that from on the ground.
Yeah, I love showing. One of my favorite shots is a drone photo in the fall with a golf course right behind the home.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful,
stunning. And that
mountains
property,
in the background, it's it's a masterpiece.
You can't, like, it's to your point. It's like those little details that help sell a property are how is the viewer seeing what's around it, and drone photography and videography is like the best thing. I'm just sad because it's definitely going to change and potentially go away completely.
Yeah, take advantage of it while you can.
Yeah, good question, man.
Yeah,
I get more often than not, surprisingly, I'm getting conversations when I'm flying my drone.
Yeah, that's really surprising to me.
Yeah.
But,
I think part of it's like just where I'm flying, or maybe it's just so top of mind because it feels like it happens all the time.
Yeah, I'd say it's. I mean, I looked the other day, and I think I've flown over 400 hours in the past year, or something crazy. So,
nuts.
But I'd say it only happens maybe once a month. I've only ever had one person get angry and yell at me, and that was because I was flying close to a building, and they thought I was spying on people, which is usually the assumption, which is not practical because you can't see through windows with a drone. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly been positive. People walking their dogs, things like that. People curious about it. It always helps if you show them what you see on your screen with the drone.
Yeah, totally agree.
People love that, but it doesn't happen very often. So
yeah. Well, it might.
It might.
People are getting. It's just like in Denver specifically, and I know you do a lot of shooting up north, so
yeah.
But they've had on the news like a lot of issues with drones, so I think it's just like people hear it, they understand it, and they're worried about it. And it's like my job now to console you, but also try to get the job done that I'm hired to do.
Do you fly from your car?
Never.
Really?
Yeah. So again, it's like I try to do everything by the book so that I'm not liable in the event something happens. You are supposed to maintain line of sight to your drone at all times. A lot of people don't do that because they need to hide from it for various reasons.
Yep.
But my workflow is usually across the street. I'm able to fly without getting captured in the image. And then if I ever am in the image, I just edit myself out.
Nice. Yeah. I will say, sometimes I will do it if it's cold. If it's really cold. I'll pull the car back, can still see the house and the drone in relation and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just sometimes can prevent that interaction a little bit more. But yeah, never lose line of sight. That's if you can't see the drone, you don't know what's behind it. So
Yeah. Oh man.
and it's usually a tree.
I know. I lost connection one time, and thank goodness I could see it, because I would have had no idea where I was and would not have been able to fly it back. But it's like, I have one of the older Air 2s, so my phone was connected, but my phone died. So I couldn't see anything, but I was able to fly it back with the controller. But those situations are like, I feel like a dime a dozen. People are making mistakes and dropping drones out of the sky.
Yeah, I mean, it happens quite a bit. I mean, even DJI, who are considered the industry leaders, sometimes the controllers crash. The controller I have doesn't incorporate your phone, so it's just a screen. Sometimes the app will crash and you'll lose visual entirely. So if you can't see the drone, you got to blindly fly it back, and that's just not a possibility with people around. So.
Oh man. So I had this is like 2 years ago. I had a request for a video, and it was, they wanted me to fly over, I think it's called Stanley Lake. I don't know. I didn't realize how big it was, but they're like, I want you to fly over it and then to the house to show everyone that it's nearby the house.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so sorry, but this breaks 4 federal laws.
Really?
Like, I can't legally fly over that area. I can't do this, that, and that. And it's like, I think there are photographers out there who would do that and just not understand that they could like literally go to jail for doing that flight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a lot of courage to tell the agent what is legally possible, but it's also doing them a favor by protecting them, because if that ends up in the MLS and someone finds it, they're going to be in trouble as well.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's just funny, man. There's a lot with drone that isn't surface level. It's like you have to know so much.
You have to know so much.
Oh my gosh. And like wind speeds out here can be a real problem.
Yeah, or up in Cheyenne. I mean, you're looking at like 40, 60 mile an hour winds someday.
Sketchy, man.
Yeah, I do not fly over like 20, 30, man.
Yeah.
It's not worth that risk.
It's not, man. But yeah, that's gonna evolve big time. Congress passed the law that is making it so I forget how it works, but it's like they passed the initial bill that puts it on the docket to be voted on. But basically, if this gets passed, anything from outside of America will not be allowed to be sold anymore. So like, any DJI product that's currently in the country will be allowed to be sold, but any new items will not be. And it's intended to protect privacy and then to encourage U.S. innovation. But they've, like, in conjunction with this, passed a law in the United States that limits the ability for those companies to innovate. So basically, they're sandboxing the recreational drone industry, and it's going to go away.
Wow.
Like, I would be shocked if it's not almost completely eliminated to flying in designated areas completely.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I think. What time? So, if you wanted to touch briefly on social media as a marketing tool, that was really these are the only other topics that we had.
Yeah.
Or do you have any other final thoughts?
I mean, I think we can definitely talk about social media. Yeah, why don't we touch on that? Maybe I'll start with just asking you a question. What benefits have you already seen from social media and realtors who are implementing it, or even yourself, and how's that benefited you?
Great question. Personally, for my business, it has allowed me to network with a broader audience and has brought me customers.
Really?
Which has been fantastic and completely unsolicited, right? They're hitting me up, asking me if they can work with me, which is wonderful. It's exactly what I'm trying to portray. It has elevated my capabilities as a videographer and photographer, because now I'm competing with the world and I want mine to be the best.
Yeah.
So it has pushed me to be better. For my agents, I have seen them and like I follow up and ask them, how has the feedback been and what have you seen? And it is always positive. They have gotten feedback from their coworkers or from their customers, the homeowner, and then two, the best case scenario is they're getting leads as well.
Yeah, man.
And it's always a fun conversation when that's happening.
Yeah, I'm seeing it all over the place. I recently, in terms of how I've been benefiting from it, I recently posted a story, just a basic Instagram story, not even a reel, of a home I did that was on the lower end, but we really went all out for this home. I mean, we did some crazy videos and really pushed it. And this agent sees this video, and he'd been following me for a while, just curious. He sees this video on my story, and he DM'd me. And he's like, hey, man, I had no idea you did homes at this price range. I was like, absolutely. You know, it doesn't really matter the value of the home. You can really make a difference. And the video he was talking about was one that I had shot down in Colorado Springs for, you know, like I said, not a very, you know, baller home. But this video is doing so well. It's getting about, you know, we did like 10,000 views in one day.
Congrats, man.
Which is, it's crazy. And all the top comments are like, hey, how can I see this house? You know, how can I get in here? And then the agent calls me up a week later and he's like, hey, man, I just have to thank you. And I'm like, for what, man? Like, I'm just doing my job. He's like, I got 2 new buyers, 1 new seller, and 2 brokerages reached out to me. And it's just like,
congrats, dude.
From one maybe minute-long video of a house that probably didn't deserve what we put into it, but if we get those kind of results, it absolutely does deserve that kind of love, you know?
I think you proved the reason why every home should be getting video is because it's not always to sell the home.
No.
It's to build your personal brand as the agent and get prospective buyers and sellers.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt your ability to sell the home at all.
It's only going to help, right?
It's only going to help, right? But you also get the benefit of showing people who you are in an intimate setting online in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, if not more than that, right?
Well, and the return on investment for that agent was immensely huge, assuming they can close those deals with the new customers that they just got.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's advertising, right? I mean, it's showing people what they do for every single home. And I think that you should be doing this for every single home. You don't have to wait for that $3 million listing to go all in on a video. It's do it with the homes you're doing it with right now to show people what you will do for their $3 million listing.
Right. It's similar to the mantra of dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Exactly.
Market your properties in the way that the top 1% do.
Yeah.
So that you can get there as well, because everyone starts with their first home. And the reason why I think so many agents fall out of this industry is because they just don't have that coach or mentor who's telling them how you can market yourself and how you can market your property. Yeah. So partnering with someone like yourself, it's just like a huge asset. So that's freaking a huge stat, and you should put that on your website.
It was a big win, man. It was a really good one.
You should get that as a testimonial.
Yeah, I know I should. I definitely should. But yeah, it makes me happy to know that my work is valued, and it goes a long way. And it actually is helping my clients and not just flashy, you know, because I see a lot of editors now, and there's some amazing and talented people out there, but that comes with just wanting to show off what you can do, you know. And when you have such an amazing and talented shooter or editor, you have to sometimes take a step back and think, okay, is this, you know, tailoring to my interest and what I want to show off about myself and how I can edit? Or is this actually going to be beneficial to the house and catch eyes and promote the property? And it's a hard thing to tell. I mean, you want to do cool effects. Like, I've done it myself where the house drops out of the sky. And it's like, from an editor standpoint, that's impressive, sure. And it shows people that I'm a good editor and impresses everyone in our community. Does it actually help with the video? In this case, I was lucky, and, you know, half the comments are like, oh, that's such a cool effect. And that's what you want. You want to drive up engagement. But if no one was really caring and it wasn't a well-executed effect, I could see it being detrimental, right? Because it's not servicing the agent or a potential buyer. It's only servicing myself. So
that's a good point. And two, I think even a social media video is a tool when used effectively in a certain scenario, very beneficial. A property video is a very different tool when used effectively, is a brings in a different use case, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, what in your opinion is the social media beneficial for and property videos beneficial for?
I think both are absolutely necessary. You can't do one without the other. I mean, they back each other up and support each other, but they are two very different videos. I'd say social media videos are a little bit more fun, charismatic, and open up that window of like who you are. These are posted on your social media page, so they should be a representation of your brand. And a little bit flashy, sure. And it's usually best if they're a little over the top so that they catch eyes and aren't just boring. A listing video or MLS video, I think should be more professional, right? It should be a little bit slower and allow people the time to actually experience the home and feel an emotion. You know, this is your time to really take someone through the house as if they were walking through it themselves, but make it engaging while still emotional and touching and able to see what's going on, you know, not just flashy effects. So, two very different videos, very different utilizations, but when paired together, you get something that, you know, attracts someone to that funnel, right? The sales funnel.
Mm-hmm.
You get the social media video, which draws in eyes, and they're like, I want to see more of this house. You lead them to a video that emotionally connects with them, and the call to action of that video leads them to the agent. I think it's a nice little
Very
package.
well said. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So,
I couldn't have said it better than how you just described it. And it's literally that sales funnel of getting customers to an offer.
mm-hmm.
And it starts with the social media video builds your brand. It's expanding your audience and your customer base.
Huge reach, right?
Huge potential reach. It doesn't matter how many followers you're getting. You are getting the same opportunity to get views. That video in itself is probably not going to sell the property, but it is going to potentially lead you to new customers and a wider network, which you've already proven.
Mm-hmm.
And then that property video is a cinematic storytelling opportunity that can invoke emotion, like you said. That's so well put.
Mm-hmm.
I've had only one person admit this to me, but the homeowner called me the day after I delivered the video, and she said, I'm crying right now. I lived in this house. It was a little condo. She's like, I lived in this condo for 5 years. It was my first condo. And I'm crying watching this video because it was like, I was so blessed to be able to capture how that property made me feel. And then two, it was like the homeowner watches that and they get to relive all those feelings. And that then is expanded to the agent, and therefore that agent added value to the homeowner, so they are excited to sell that property and then buy the next property with that agent because that agent invested in video and invoked emotion.
Yeah.
And then the people who are buying the property get to see the video, and then at that point they have no questions about what they're potentially touring and buying.
Yeah.
And if you can layer in a 3D tour on top of that, by the time they get to the showing, in theory, they've seen the property 3 times in 3 different ways, and they should have no questions to make an offer.
Yeah.
And you're just getting more qualified leads in the door if you're investing in those things. And I mean, it was so well put, man. It's like you're invoking emotions.
I mean, that's what's behind it all, right? Is emotion. I mean, moving where you live is one of the most emotional times in your life, right? You're changing so much at once. So, I mean, I think capturing a video that shows how you feel and have connected with this home is more important than anything, right? And to show that to a homeowner is like the best feeling when they're like, this is what I feel about my home, you know, and that's through music and storytelling and what's shown on camera, but it takes patience and effort and time to do that. Music selection is one of the biggest things that I think is overlooked. People want to choose, you know, corporate, safe, you know, boring, neutral, whatever it is. I really spend the time looking through all of my options with music and coming up with something that fits the home. You know, if it's a Western home or it's out there in a little more of a rural area, maybe something Western, you know, maybe something a little bit, you know, New Mexico style or Mexican or Hispanic or, you know, Santa Fe, if it calls for it. Or if something's a little more modern, something with a beat, you know, something that's going to get you interested and keep you moving and get you excited. But I think that's everything. You know, you don't want to pair the wrong music to the wrong house. It's going to make people feel weird and like it's not a personal experience. So
It's one of your strong suits for sure.
thank you.
I mean,
I spend hours. I spend hours looking at music.
I
So
always, every video I watch of yours, I'm always like, it's so spot on what you just said, how the images match the feel, and I feel like this represents the house. It's really cool when it all works in synergy. The other thing too, the point I wanted to add is, I think the stat is over 60% of sellers want to work with an agent who's doing video. So that video is more beneficial than just selling the home because it's limited to where you can post it. And that's kind of the biggest point of feedback I get from agents is I can't even use this.
Yeah.
Well, you can, and where the real value is, in my opinion, is the homeowner who you're working with wants you to do that. And it's going to lead to more business down the road because you're doing it.
Yeah.
And if you can have it on a website, which is where I recommend it being hosted, and have that linked in your MLS, that is a great tool. Where are you seeing your videos utilized most effectively?
So I'd absolutely encourage every agent who is doing video to have a place where that lives. Whether it's a website or on your social media, I think it's so important to have just a full coverage video so when people look up insert address here video, they have a place they can find it. You can post them to the MLS. They have very strict limitations. It cannot be branded, and there's got to be a few things throughout it. But I'm seeing the most success on property websites for listing videos, and then social media is just popping off, man. Like even if you just post normal listing videos on social media, they get views. People can see them. You can send them to people, and I think that's where they do best is when you just send those videos to people. You know, it's like, hey, you know, check out this. They don't have to click through each photo and try to figure out where it is in the house. It's like, okay, it shows me everything. I don't even have to touch my keyboard, right? Like, it shows me everything I need. And from an agent's point of view, this is perfect because it shows them the best parts of the house and the parts to be excited about.
Yeah,
So,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I love too, it's kind of like if you get a lead, it gives you a really valuable tool to be able to follow up with more than
So
just,
easy.
do you want a tour? It's like, hey, check out this.
Yeah.
And then hit me up when you're ready to tour.
Yeah, I mean, you can show them exactly what they should see about this home. Like within a minute. It only takes a minute of their time. They don't have to click through or read some long description about what all the property has. You know, it's right in front of their eyes.
Yeah, and I think it's worth, and again, it's like my perspective. Like I've personally bought and sold 4 different properties, and I have limited experience with this, but from my experience, it adds so much value beyond just a video. And if you are paying someone $200 to do a video, it's going to look like you paid $200 for that video, and it's not going to represent you and your brand, and it's not going to represent the property in the way that it potentially could had you made an investment and allowed someone to come in there who is really dedicated to the craft.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 things that can happen when you spend that $200 price range, right? It's either the videographer is really struggling and they're putting the maximum amount of work in for as less as they possibly can, and they're really not making much on that product, right? They're sacrificing so much to grow their own brand. Or you're finding someone that's putting in the bare minimum, right? They're doing absolutely the least amount of work they can to get the service at the lowest possible price. I think the former is less common, right? People who are growing their brand, that's something you don't see very often where people are going all out on videos at that range because usually those people are a little bit newer to the craft, right? They're looking to gain experience and they're doing so by offering a lower price point. But the latter is someone I don't think should even exist in our industry.
I agree.
Like, I don't think you should ever sacrifice on quality to meet someone's price expectation. I mean, my whole philosophy is no matter what it costs, I'm going to put my best foot forward. And if I'm not making enough, then I need to change something. But I'd say you should always be producing your best work and not holding back.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest misconception from someone who isn't in the media world is that you see people in today's world using their iPhones and they're just posting unedited content. That's not how these videos are shot, edited, and delivered. it takes on-site time. I spend minimum of an hour, up to 4 hours, depending on what the deliverables are. I know your workflow may even be extended on some of your projects up to a full day.
Up to a full day.
And then once you get that back, I, as the director and director of photography, have an idea of how this is going to flow together. I have worked with editors, and it is so hard to get them to see my vision and to deliver a product that works. So I took all of that in-house. So I'm spending a minimum, like on a social media video, minimum 2 hours of editing, post-processing, minimum, up to some projects I've worked 12 to 20 hours. All for a video that gets packaged and delivered for anywhere from $200 to $500.
Yeah.
And it's so much time and effort, but I love doing it, which is why I offer it at that price point.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's no reason why someone should be delivering something so bad.
Yeah. I mean, I understand if you're in a place in your career where that's something that it's the best you can create, that's understandable. But people who are actively lowering the quality of their product to meet price expectations is, I don't think, something that should exist in our market. But I mean, there's a place for everybody, and if it's working for them, sure, I wish them the best, but I don't see that philosophy.
There's a company out of, I think it's somewhere in the Midwest, but basically they have an AI editing software. So they have a workflow where their whole team shoots on iPhones, and they shoot either a 3-second clip or a 10-second clip, or anything longer than 10 seconds becomes a speed ramp. And the AI system just automatically cuts the ends off, so you get the middle of each of those clips, and then you get a speed ramp clip. And they're enormous, but I think that time has passed. I think that there was a time where those videos worked because video wasn't something people were spending a lot of time and attention with. Yeah. I think that now it is the best investment you can make. And if you can elevate your brand by having the highest quality visuals, it's going to be the best money you could spend.
Yeah, I mean, just like with photos, I think the bar and the ceiling have been raised, right? So like that minimum entry point of what's acceptable for a video is pretty high now. And that means the ceiling is just astronomical. I mean, what you can do with this, there's so many directions to go. But I like what you said about taking things in-house. I haven't met anyone yet that I trust enough to create something that they're going to work as hard on as I would have.
Right.
Like, I'm always going to do the extra hours. I mean, that's why I don't like to charge hourly, right? Because if I'm working on an edit and I hit that 8-hour mark or whatever it is, and I'm like, it needs more, I'm not just going to close my laptop and send it off. That's not going to be it. I'm going to spend that extra, whatever it takes, to finish this video in the way that it deserves. And I think you can't get that through anyone but yourself sometimes. And that makes it really difficult, because I would love to ship all these videos overseas and have them done by yesterday or whatever it was, and they come back looking okay and passable, but I don't think I would ever really be happy with the product that I receive. So I think it's super valuable that videographers do stuff in-house, that it just keeps it in the circle of like, if a revision needs to be made, I can make that within the same day if I have to. I don't have to send a revision request overseas and wait for that editor to get back to the project. It can all be done from my end. So I just think it's efficient and it's valuable.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts on the future of real estate media?
Of real estate media? I don't know. I think you get in, or you get out what you put in with it. If you're putting 100% in every day, you're going to get that back out eventually. And that goes for agents and shooters alike. So,
completely agree.
What about you, man?
Yeah, I think the more AI and the more technology that is disrupting this industry is going to make your relationships and your personality much more important. And having the best level of customer service and being understanding and supportive for your agents and homeowners is going to be the most valuable asset that a real estate photographer team has.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited about in this industry, because that's what I enjoy. It's the relationships.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the special effects and cool speed ramps are going to fade, and what's going to be left is people who can tell stories and sell themselves and represent their brand.